My first game, I remember I came on for about 5 minutes. I had a really good first touch, like a really good first pass, and then the next moment I was involved in, I got a yellow card. That basically sums up my career. Highlight with my time with the Ferns. Oh my gosh, there's so many I honestly couldn't pick. I love being a part of this team.
Only as far as Bott, however, CJ Bott! What a magnificent goal!
Brilliant tackle from CJ Bott.
That is a typical CJ Bott tackle there.
And CJ Bott, as ever, a sentinel for the New Zealand defence.
I got into football because I remember it was at primary school, and it was a very small primary school. They started up a school choir, and I could not think of anything worse than joining a school choir and singing, but every other girl in my school went to that. So I had no friends left. So the only thing I could do was play football with my older brother, and at the time the boys hated it because I was awful. But that's pretty much what sparked it. I played one lunchtime and then I didn't stop. I remember I nutmegged my brother's best friend and he ran off and cried, and I think at that point that's what sold me. The competitive nature came out to play. I started off at centre mid. I'm sure a lot of footballers did, and I loved that. But then I was pushed back to centre back as well in my under 17 campaign, and then eventually I was deemed too short for centre back, so then I was pushed out wide to fullback, wing back, and that's where I've been ever since, and I love it. I love being physical. I love a big tackle. I love running a lot. I love attacking, but I equally love defending. So I think that's why I love the position so much, because it entails both forward and getting back, and yeah, suits me well. Tawa is a great little suburb. It's small, but it's got everything you need. I grew up playing at Tawa Football Club, Tawa AFC. It's similar to the Tawa suburb, it's small. I remember we didn't have too much, like the other teams, I remember they had better kits than us, and we still had the old ones that were made by someone's mum for a while. But I loved it. It's where all my friends were. It was a lot of fun, and obviously it sparked my love for the game. But then I went into women's football. They didn't have a senior women's team in the first league back in the day, so I went to Karori and I loved that just as much. I was 16 at the time when I first moved to Auckland. I lived with a host family, and I moved because of under 17s. Turned out I was the only one that moved up that campaign, but I'm glad I did. It kind of solidified my spot in the team, and it put me in a much better environment than I would have had in Wellington. It was very competitive up in Auckland at the time, so I owe a lot to that point in my life, and I think, yeah, it taught me a lot, and I did a lot of growing up, moving away from home at 16. It was hard, but yeah, it was really good for me. Gosh, I thought I was so old at the time, but I was so young, 16, moving away from home. And I remember one time I missed the school bus and I had no idea what to do, and I was so lost in this big city. And I just called my mum crying, and I was like, I don't know what to do. How do I get to school? Most kids would be like, yay, no school, but I was so overwhelmed. And my mum called the bus company, and another school bus came and picked me up, and it was horrible. It was so traumatizing, but I think it just went to show I was so young to move away from home, but like I say, it made me grow up a lot and gave me a lot of perspective, and didn't go home really. Stayed up there for quite a few years. When I first got called up to the Ferns, I think I cried a lot. I was in shock, and my first camp was very intimidating. It was in China. I just remember feeling like a 5-year-old in high school, but the girls were so welcoming and the standard of play was so high. And again, yeah, it really made me step up and kind of gave me an insight into the career that I knew I wanted to have, and it was a really good kind of first step in the door. And my first game, I remember I came on for about 5 minutes. I had a really good first touch, like a really good first pass, and then the next moment I was involved in, I got a yellow card. That summed it up. That basically sums up my career. I went overseas first 2017 maybe, could be earlier, and I first moved to Germany, and basically I'd come to a point in Auckland where I thought I've done all I can here, but I needed to be in a better environment for the Ferns to be a better player and to try and kind of work my way into the squad a bit more. I got a trial in Germany at USV Jena, and I made that team, and that was my first professional contract. There are a lot of challenges. I had a great time, but I would say first challenge is the language barrier. Again, being young and going to a foreign country, it pushed me out of my comfort zone. I made some great friends, and I kind of just joked my way through and did what I needed to do there. And just like all those other decisions in my career, I learned so much, and they're a pretty ruthless culture. They want you to do things right, and they don't accept anything less than their standards, and that was great for me. I learned the hard way in a lot of things, and I remember being screamed at by the coaches. They don't accept anything less than great, so pushed me to be a better player, and I did a lot of growing that year in Germany. I went from Germany and then had a year and a half in Sweden, and then I went to Norway. I mean, even between Norway and Sweden and Germany, all those leagues offered something really, really different. I loved my time in Norway, really, really loved it. It was during COVID, so it was very tough, very different. I had a pre-season there, and then I found out I had a torn meniscus, and that set me out for quite a few months, so I had surgery on that. But then once I got started, it was so much fun. I loved playing in that league. It really tested me. There were some great players in that league, and I really think that it gave me a lot of confidence, and I think that's something that I carry with me now, and that's helped me quite a bit in my current state, I guess. Playing in the WSL now is something I never dreamed of as a kid, because I never thought I would be good enough to do anything like this. So it's a very surreal moment. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, because obviously living my life, it just feels like my life, it's nothing special. And then when I look back or someone asks me questions about it, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I guess that is pretty cool. I love it, and I have to pinch myself. Like I say, the caliber of players over there is unbelievable. I'm absolutely exhausted after every game. Everyone I play against is unreal. So it's such a good challenge. Being a fullback in that league is unbelievable. You get to defend against the best wingers in the world, and then get to attack against the best defenders in the world. So yeah, I'm so happy to be there. I remember being devastated when I didn't make the squad of, I think it was 19 at the time, for the Rio Olympics. But I was still grateful to be an alternate athlete. But it was actually really hard. I got concussed, which obviously doesn't make it easy. So that was part of my journey there. You're involved in the tournament and in the team. You're there for all the trainings, and you very much feel part of the team. But then it comes to game day, and there's no spot for you in the changing room. And it was a really tough pill to swallow, and again, a big kind of learning opportunity for me. And yeah, it was hard, but in hindsight, I'm always really, really grateful for those hard opportunities, because it makes you appreciate kind of where I am now and the place I have in the team and the opportunities I have now. But it was also really cool. It's the Olympics, for goodness sake. There's no better sporting event or no bigger sporting event. So it was a very surreal moment, and it was crazy seeing all the other athletes around the village. And yeah, it was such a cool environment. As hard as it was, there were some incredible moments as well. And then the World Cup, that was tough. I'd already been to a World Cup and I didn't play. That was my first World Cup, and that was unreal. But then, so I was thinking, this is going to be my tournament. We actually had a decent first game. We didn't get a point, but we only lost it in the last, it felt like a few minutes. And so we were eager to give it to Canada, and then 10 minutes came and a ball just hit my arm, and for some reason my wrist decided to shatter. So that was my tournament. So I had surgery on that a few days later, and yeah, it was a devastating end to the tournament, and it was tough to see the girls against Cameroon as well. It was a devastating loss, but I'm always grateful for those opportunities, and it was still an experience just supporting from the stands anyway. I think the people that have been most important to me are the ones that have been around from the start. Katie Bowen, Hannah Wilkinson, I don't know why I'm saying their full names. Bo, Wilkie, Erin, Stoddy, and the likes of Riley, the captain. They've all been really, everyone's had kind of a different role. The likes of Riley, she's just been such a good leader, and she's been such a constant member of the team and a constant personality to have around. And then likes of Bo and Wilkie, they've just been my best mates in the team for the whole way. And Stoddy, she's just always a laugh. You always just love seeing Stoddy around, and those kind of players. Everyone's just so great. Even the young ones who are coming through, they add something fresh and something new. They've all got really great personalities, and they're adding a lot to the team on the field as well. And it's cool to see how they've kind of stepped up to the role. So it's just a great bunch of girls.
The heat is turned up by South Korea. Jung Chung against Catherine Joan of Arc Bott. I guess that's what her Wikipedia says. I think that is the product of editing your own Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure.
I knew exactly who did that. It's so funny. So my little cousin, I finished that game and my Snapchat, I think it was going off from her, and she'd sent me about 20 messages and she was panicking because she thought it would be funny in school to change my name to Catherine Joan of Arc Bott. And she was like, oh my goodness, the commentators have just referred to you as Catherine Joan of Arc Bott and I think I've ruined your career. Everyone's going to think that that's your real name. And she was beside herself. The poor thing. It was so funny though, and I was thinking, you need to just do some schoolwork and get off your phone. But it was my little cousin. I know it's stuck for too long to think a 12-year-old could change my life like that. The kind of conversation I would have with 10-year-old CJ, I would tell her to do a lot more technical work. I think I've escaped my career being a very physical athlete, but I do wish that I'd worked a bit more on my touch, if I'm being brutally honest with myself. But I would say always keep that fight. That's something I've always cherished, and to be honest, I wouldn't even change about myself. I love the fact that when I started, I was putting boys on the ground and I just loved it, and I thrived off those big challenges and getting forward and dribbling and all that. And I would say to always keep that fight and that fire in the belly. Oh my goodness, a highlight with my time with the Ferns. Oh my gosh, there's so many. One would probably be after COVID and coming back together. That was a pretty cool moment. I didn't realise how much I'd missed being around the team. It's the talk around the table, it's the banter that no one else in the world would get. It's absolute rubbish, but it's so fun. Every game is so much fun as well. I honestly couldn't pick. I love being a part of this team.